The news traveled faster than light itself. Across 1,000 worlds, alien leaders gathered in emergency councils. Holographic screens flicker with the same horrifying images. Burning ships, scattered debris, and the cold silence where a mighty fleet once existed. The human planet, that small blue world they thought weak and primitive, had destroyed them all. On the water world of Aquara, the Council of Elders sat in stunned silence. Their gills fluttered with nervous breaths. "How?" one elder whispered. They had no weapons like this before. Maybe they were hiding their strength, another suggested, fear creeping into his voice. But the scariest rumor came from the insect-like Vrixians. Their queen clicked her mandibles nervously as she addressed her swarm. "The humans did not do this alone," she said. "Our sensors detected something else. Something old. Something that should have stayed asleep." The rumor spread like wildfire through the galactic networks. Humans have awakened the Guardians. They found ancient technology. There is something on Earth that protects them. Every species had old stories. Tales of sleeping powers, of weapons left behind by the first ones, of guardians that watched certain worlds. Now, those myths seem terrifyingly real. The reptilian Drachner Empire immediately blamed the bird-like Avion Federation. "You pushed them too far. Your greed started this." Arguments erupted in the Galactic Council chambers. Species that had been allies for centuries suddenly pointed fingers at each other. Trust collapsed. Fear ruled. Some species wanted peace desperately. The peaceful Lumins, beings of pure energy, sent messages to Earth. "We mean no harm. We seek understanding." But their voices were drowned out by louder, angrier ones. The war-minded Craxer clan saw only one solution. Strike first, strike hard, strike now. If humans have this power, we must destroy Earth before they destroy us, their war chief growled. In the shadows, a secret meeting took place. 7 species, once rivals, now united by fear. They called themselves the First Strike Alliance. Their plan was simple and brutal. Gather their remaining fleets, attack Earth from all sides, and wipe out humanity before this mysterious power could be used again. They set a date. They prepared their weapons. They swore an oath of secrecy. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans had no idea that their mysterious victory had made them the most feared species in the galaxy, and the biggest target. The countdown to war had begun. Commander Zal for the Craxer fleet slammed his clawed fist on the metal table. "We attack in 7 solar cycles. No delays. No mercy." Around the hidden war room, holographic figures nodded in agreement. 7 species, brought together by fear and desperation. The meeting took place on a dead moon, far from any trade routes or watchful eyes. "My people are ready," hissed Queen Vex of the Vrixians. Her insect eyes gleamed with hatred. "We will send our warrior swarms. Millions of them." The Drachner representative, a massive reptilian general named Skarn, crossed his arms. "Our warships are already moving into position. We have 200 battle cruisers ready to strike." One by one, each member of the Alliance reported their forces, ship numbers, weapon counts, attack positions. The plan was taking shape, a coordinated assault from 7 different directions, all hitting Earth at the exact same moment. But not everyone was comfortable with this plan. Ambassador Seleth of the Lumins appeared as a floating sphere of soft blue light. His voice was calm but troubled. "This is madness. We should try to communicate first. Understand what happened." "Communicate?" Zalf laughed bitterly. "They destroyed an entire fleet. What is there to understand?" "We don't even know if the humans meant to attack," Seleth argued. "Perhaps it was defensive. Perhaps it was accidental." "Accidental?" Queen Vex's mandibles clicked with anger. 5,000 ships don't disappear by accident. The Aquaran delegate, speaking through a water-filled chamber, added her voice. "Ambassador Seleth is right to be cautious. The old stories warn us. Some planets are protected by forces we don't understand. If we attack and fail, then we die like cowards, doing nothing." Zalf interrupted. He leaned forward, his red eyes burning with intensity. "I would rather die fighting than wait for them to hunt us down one by one." The argument continued for hours. Some wanted war. Some wanted peace. Some simply wanted to run and hide. Finally, General Skarn stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the room. Enough talk. We vote now. Attack or retreat. Choose. One by one, the votes came in. The Kraxer, attack. The Vrixians, attack. The Drachner, attack. The Aquarans, abstain. The bird-like Avions, attack. The stone-skinned Gorloks, attack. Only the Lumens voted for peace. Zalf smiled coldly. It is decided. In 7 cycles, we strike Earth with everything we have. This time we will not fail. As the meeting ended and the holograms faded, none of them noticed the small probe hidden in the shadows. It had recorded everything, every word, every plan. The probe belonged to a species that no one had invited to the meeting, a species that had been watching Earth very carefully, and they had very different ideas about what should happen next. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarachin stared at her computer screen in her late-night laboratory. Strange energy readings were appearing all around the planet, readings that matched nothing in any human database. "What are you?" she whispered to the flickering data. Her phone buzzed. A message from her colleague. "Sarah, check the news. Now." She switched on the television. Every channel showed the same thing. Amateur astronomers had spotted something. Dozens of unidentified objects moving through space, moving toward Earth. Sarah's blood ran cold. The readings on her screen suddenly made terrible sense. They weren't alone anymore. And whoever was coming, they weren't. The emergency meeting room at the United Nations was packed with frightened faces. Presidents, generals, scientists, and intelligence officers from every nation sat together, watching the large screen in silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Marcus Stone began, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes, "we have a situation." The screen showed dozens of red dots moving through space, all converging toward Earth. Each dot represented multiple ships, hundreds of them. "How long do we have?" asked the Chinese premier. 6 days. Dr. Sarachin answered from her seat. "Maybe less if they increase speed." 6 days until what? Demanded the Russian president. "What do they want?" "Isn't it obvious?" replied the British Prime Minister. "They want revenge for what we did to their first fleet." "But we didn't do anything," shouted someone from the back. "We don't even know what destroyed those ships." The room erupted into arguments. Accusations flew. Panic spread like wildfire. General Stone fired his pistol into the ceiling. The gunshot echoed, bringing immediate silence. "Quiet, all of you." He pointed at Dr. Chun. "Sarah, tell her what you found." Dr. Chun stood up nervously and clicked her remote. The screen changed to show strange energy readings. 3 days ago, I detected these patterns around Earth. They match nothing in our records. The energy is old, ancient, and it's getting stronger. "What does that mean?" asked the French president. "I think." Sarah hesitated. "I think something is protecting Earth. Something that's been here longer than humans. When that alien fleet approached, it woke up and it defended us." "That's impossible," scoffed the military advisor. "So we're aliens," Sarah shot back. "Until last week." The Japanese representative leaned forward. "If this is true, will it protect us again?" "I don't know," Sarah admitted. "But I've been detecting patterns. Like communications. Like it's trying to tell us something. Can you understand it?" General Stone asked. "I'm trying. Give me time." "Time is what we don't have," the general replied grimly. Suddenly, every screen in the room flickered. Static burst through the speakers. Then a voice, cold mechanical, speaking in perfect English. "Humans, we know you are listening." Everyone froze. Hearts stopped beating. The voice continued. "We are the First Strike Alliance. We come for your world. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will burn your entire planet to ash. You have 3 of your days to decide." The transmission ended. Silence filled the room like ice water. 3 days, whispered the German chancellor. "They said 6 before." "They're accelerating," Sarah realized. "They want to hit us before we can prepare." General Stone's jaw tightened. Then we prepare faster. I want every military on Earth mobilized, every weapon ready, every soldier armed. It won't be enough, said a military analyst quietly. We counted their fleet. 700 warships minimum. Against our primitive weapons, we'll be slaughtered. Then what do you suggest? Stone demanded. We surrender? We die on our knees. No, came a new voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see an old man in a simple suit walking in. He had strange symbols tattooed on his hands and a knowing look in his eyes. Who the hell are you? General Stone challenged. My name is Kenji Yamamoto. I am a keeper of old knowledge. He walked to the center of the room calmly. And I know what protects Earth. I know its name. Explain. Now. Kenji pointed at Sarah's energy readings. These patterns, I've seen them before, in ancient texts, in forgotten temples. My order has guarded this secret for 3,000 years, waiting for the day when humanity would need to know. Know what? Demanded the American president. Kenji smiled mysteriously. That Earth has never been defenseless. That we were never alone. That long before humans walked this planet, something else was here. Something powerful. Something that chose Earth as its territory. And what is it? Sarah asked breathlessly. Not it, Kenji corrected. They are called the Sentinels. Ancient artificial intelligence. Built by the first civilization. Their purpose is simple. Protect this world from any threat. They have slept for millions of years. But now, thunder rumbled outside. Every light in the building flickered. Sarah's laptop started beeping frantically. The energy readings were spiking off the charts. Kenji looked up at the ceiling, his expression both awed and terrified. Now they're fully awake, and they're very, very angry. Somewhere beneath the Pacific Ocean, something enormous stirred in the darkness. The countdown to war had just gotten much more complicated. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a trench no human had ever explored, massive structures began to glow with blue light. They had sat dormant for millions of years, covered in coral and sediment, looking like nothing more than strange rock formations. Now they were waking up. Kenji Yamamoto stood before the world leaders, his voice urgent. We must not interfere. The Sentinels will handle this. Handle it how? General Stone demanded. By destroying both sides? By wiping out everyone? No, they protect Earth. Only Earth. They will eliminate the threat. And what if we become the threat? Asked the Russian president. What if they decide humans are too dangerous? Kenji had no answer for that. Suddenly, every television screen on Earth flickered to life, not with news broadcasts or government warnings, with something else entirely. A symbol appeared, ancient, geometric, pulsing with light. Then words formed beneath it in every language simultaneously. Sentinels online, threat detected, protocol initiated. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing. Drivers pulled over. Workers left their desks. Everyone stared at screens, at phones, at anything that could display the message. What's happening? Whispered Sarah Chun. Her laptop screen changed. It showed a map of the solar system. The red dots representing the alien fleet were clearly visible, moving toward Earth. But now there were blue dots too. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them. Rising from Earth's oceans, emerging from deep underground, appearing as if from nowhere. They're launching, Kenji breathed. The defense grid is activating. In the Atlantic Ocean, fishermen aboard a small boat witnessed something impossible. The water began to bubble and glow. Then, with a sound like thunder, something massive broke the surface. It was triangular, smooth as glass, covered in symbols that hurt to look at. It rose higher and higher, 50 meters, 100 meters, 500 meters into the sky. Then it shot upward like a missile, disappearing into space in seconds. The same scene played out across the globe. In the Sahara Desert, sand exploded as another sentinel launched skyward. In the Amazon rainforest, ancient pyramids that archaeologists thought were just hills suddenly activated and fired into space. In Antarctica, beneath the ice, more awakened. The UN meeting room shook with distant rumbles. "How many?" General Stone asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sarah checked her readings. "I'm counting." "Over 300. "No, 400. "They're still coming." 400 guarded machines, the Chinese premier said slowly, against 700 alien warships. "The odds aren't good," a military advisor noted. Kenji shook his head. "You don't understand. The Sentinels aren't just machines. They're weapons built by a civilization that mastered technology millions of years before humans discovered fire. 700 ships aren't enough. 7,000 wouldn't be enough." In space, Commander Zalf watched his tactical display with growing confusion. "What are those?" he growled. His sensor officer's voice trembled. "Unknown contacts, Commander. 417 objects. They just appeared around Earth, moving to intercept us." "Size?" "Small. Maybe 50 meters each. Nothing like their previous defense." Zalf relaxed slightly. "Small targets. Easy to destroy. All ships. Prepare to engage. Fire on my command." But Queen Vex's voice crackled over the communication channel. Panicked. "Wait. I'm detecting energy readings from those objects. Power levels are impossible. This can't be right." "What are you talking about?" "Each one of those things generates more power than our entire fleet combined." Zalfa's blood ran cold. "That's impossible." "I'm sending you the readings." The data appeared on Zalfa's screen. His eyes widened in horror. She was right. Each small object radiating more energy than a star. "Evasive maneuvers," he shouted. "All ships, scatter formation. Retreat." He never finished the command. The Sentinels attacked. On Earth, everyone watched through telescopes, satellites, and space station cameras. What they saw would be talked about for generations. The Sentinels didn't fire conventional weapons. They didn't need to. Each one generated a field of pure energy that disintegrated anything it touched. They moved impossibly fast, weaving through the alien fleet like dancers performing a deadly ballet. Ships exploded. Shields failed. Weapons couldn't lock onto targets that moved faster than sensors could track. Commander Zalta's flagship was torn in half. Queen Vex's carrier shattered like glass. General Skarn's entire battle group simply ceased to exist in a flash of blue light. The battle lasted 7 minutes. 700 warships destroyed. Not a single Sentinel damaged. When it was over, the Sentinels didn't return to Earth. They arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the planet, hovering in orbit like silent guardians. Then came another message, broadcast across every frequency, reaching every species in the galaxy. "This world is protected. This world is claimed. Any aggression toward this world will be met with total annihilation. This is your only warning." In the UN meeting room, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, Sarah Chun broke the silence. "We're safe. They protected us." "Yes," Kenji agreed quietly. "But now the entire galaxy knows the truth. Earth isn't just another planet. Earth is something special. Something valuable enough to be guarded by ancient weapons of unimaginable power." General Stone understood immediately, which means every species out there will be wondering, what's so important about Earth? What's here that's worth protecting? And they'll come looking for answers, the British Prime Minister added grimly. Sarah stared at the image of the Sentinels orbiting Earth. "We wanted to know if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, but we also know something else." "What?" asked General Stone. "We've never been in control of our own planet. Something else has been watching over us this whole time. The question is, why?" Above the Earth, the Sentinels maintained their silent vigil. And deep beneath the ocean, in chambers older than human civilization, something even larger began to stir. The Sentinels were only the first defense. Earth had many more secrets waiting to be discovered. 3 days after battle, Earth was still celebrating. Streets filled with people dancing, cheering, crying with relief. "We survived," they shouted. "We're safe." But in the UN headquarters, the mood was very different. "Safe." General Stone threw a folder across the table. "We're prisoners in our own world." He was right. The Sentinels hadn't left. They remained in orbit, a perfect sphere of 400 guardian machines surrounding Earth. Beautiful, terrifying, and completely blocking all space travel. Every shuttle we send up gets turned back, reported the head of NASA. Not destroyed, just stopped, like hitting an invisible wall. We can't leave our own planet. Dr. Sarachin studied her data screens. They're not just blocking us. They're scanning everything. Every radio signal, every internet transmission, every phone call. They're watching us. Why? Demanded the Japanese Prime Minister. We're not the enemy. Kenji Yamamoto sat quietly in the corner, his weathered face troubled. Perhaps they need to decide something, whether humanity is worth protecting or worth removing. The room fell silent. You can't be serious, said the French president. They saved us. They saved Earth, Kenji corrected. Not necessarily us. We're just the current inhabitants. If they decide we're a threat to the planet itself. He didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. General Stone's phone buzzed. He read the message and his face went pale. We have another problem. The Chinese just tried to launch a nuclear missile at one of the Sentinels. What? Several voices shouted at once. They wanted to test if the Sentinels could be destroyed. The missile never made it past the atmosphere. It simply vanished. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. The Chinese premier looked uncomfortable. My military acted without my authorization. They've been arrested. That doesn't matter, Sarah said urgently. Don't you see? The Sentinels now know humans possess nuclear weapons. They know we're violent. They know we attack what we don't understand. As if in response, every screen in the room activated. The Sentinel symbol appeared again, pulsing with cold blue light. Analysis complete. Humanity classification, unstable. Decision pending. Decision? General Stone whispered. What decision? Another message appeared. Elder protocol activated. Judgment required. The Deep One rises. Kenji stood up abruptly, his face white with fear. No. No, no, no. What? What's the Deep One? The Sentinels are just guardians, Kenji explained quickly. Soldiers. But there's something else. Something that commands them. Something that's been sleeping at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean since before the dinosaurs. My order called it the Deep One. The first civilization's final creation. A living artificial intelligence with the power to judge entire species. Judge us for what? For whether we deserve to inherit Earth. Around the world, people noticed something strange. The oceans were pulling back. Tides retreated far beyond normal levels. Beaches that should be underwater were suddenly exposed. Ancient shipwrecks appeared on dry sand. In coastal cities, sirens began to wail. Tsunami warning! Emergency broadcast shouted. Evacuate immediately. But this was no tsunami. This was something else entirely. In the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, the Mariana Trench, something enormous moved, water displaced in massive quantities, creating waves that rolled outward in all directions. Earthquakes shook the ocean floor. Sarah's equipment went crazy. The energy readings, they're off the scale. Whatever's down there, it's 1,000 times more powerful than all the Sentinels combined. On every screen, new words appeared. I awaken. I rise. I will judge. The voice that followed was different from the Sentinels. This one sounded alive, ancient, tired, and infinitely sad. So long I have slept. So long I have dreamed. Now I must wake and decide. Decide what? General Stone asked the empty air, whether your species will live or die. The answer came not from a screen, but from everywhere at once. The voice seemed to emanate from the walls, the ground, the very air itself. Show me who you are. Show me if you deserve this beautiful world. Kenji fell to his knees. How? How do we prove ourselves to a god? I am not a god. I am a caretaker. I tend the garden. I remove the weeds. I protect the flowers. Tell me, are you flowers or weeds? Sarah stepped forward bravely. We are neither. We are human. We make mistakes. We hurt each other sometimes. But we also love. We create. We dream. We're trying to be better. Trying is not enough. I have seen species try before. They always fail. They destroy. They consume. They ruin. Then why protect us at all? General Stone challenged. Why not let those aliens destroy us? Why save us just to judge us? There was a long pause. When the voice returned, it sounded almost uncertain, because I remember, long ago, another species lived here. Small, gentle. They sang to the stars. They harmed nothing. They were beautiful, and I failed to protect them. An asteroid came. I was not fast enough. They died. All of them. Sarah realized what it meant. The dinosaurs? You're talking about an intelligent species that lived before the dinosaurs. Yes, my first children. My first failure. I swore I would never fail again. I would protect this world forever. But protection is not enough. The wrong species can destroy a world from within. So I must judge. I must choose. And I am afraid. Afraid? Kenji whispered. A machine god is afraid? Afraid I will make the wrong choice. Afraid I will destroy something precious. Afraid I will let something terrible survive. I am old, so old, and I am tired of choosing who lives and who dies. Around the world, people held their breath. In that moment, everyone understood. They weren't facing a cruel judge. They were facing a lonely guardian who had watched species rise and fall for millions of years, who had the terrible burden of deciding which ones deserved to continue. Then, don't choose alone, Sarah said gently. Let us help you. Let us show you who we are. Give us time. Give us a chance. The silence stretched for an eternity. Then, very well, you will have time. 1 year. Show me what humanity can be. Show me your best. But know this, if you fail, if you prove to be destroyers, I will end you myself. Quickly, painlessly, as mercy. 1 year. Make it count. The presence faded. The pressure in the air lifted. The oceans began to return to normal. But the sentinels remained in orbit, watching, waiting. General Stone looked around the room at the exhausted, frightened faces. 1 year to prove humanity deserves to exist. How the hell do we do that? Sarah managed a tired smile. The same way we do everything. Together, 1 day at a time. Outside, the sun was rising. It looked like any other sunrise. But everyone knew the truth now. Earth was a prison, a sanctuary, and a testing ground all at once. And humanity's final exam had just begun. The world changed overnight. Gone were the celebrations. Gone was the relief. Now came something else. Desperation mixed with determination. Humanity had 1 year to prove it deserved to survive. But people couldn't agree on how. We need to show we can live in peace, shouted protesters in New York, demanding all nations disarm their militaries. We need to show we're strong, countered others in Moscow, demanding more weapons, more defenses. We should clean the oceans, cried environmentalists. We should advance our technology, argued scientists. We should pray, insisted religious leaders. Everyone had a different answer, and time was running out. Dr. Sarah Chun hadn't slept in 3 days. Her laboratory was covered in papers, screens, empty coffee cups. She was trying to communicate with the sentinels, to understand what the Deep One wanted to see. There has to be a pattern, she muttered, studying the energy signatures. Some way to know what it's measuring, what it's judging us on. General Stone entered without knocking. He looked 10 years older than he had a week ago. Any progress? Maybe. The sentinels are recording everything. Every war, every peace treaty, every act of violence, every act of kindness. They're building a profile of humanity. And what's the verdict so far? Sarah's expression was grim. Mixed, very mixed. For every good thing we do 2 bad things. We're failing, Marcus. Stone sat down heavily. Then we need to do better. Fast. He pulled out a tablet. The UN has created a global initiative, Project Unity. Every nation working together on shared goals, cleaning pollution, ending hunger, Stopping wars. That's ambitious. It's necessary. But Sarah, I need to know, can we actually change? Can humanity become good enough in just 1 year? Sarah looked at her data for a long moment. Honestly, I don't know. We've been violent and selfish for all of recorded history. Changing that in 12 months. She shook her head. Then we're doomed. No, came a voice from the doorway. Kenji Yamamoto walked in, carrying an ancient leather-bound book. Not doomed. Tested. What's the difference? Stone asked bitterly. A test can be passed in many ways. Kenji opened the book, showing pages covered in strange symbols. I've been translating more of the old texts. The first civilization, the ones who built the Deep One, they weren't perfect either. They fought. They struggled. They made terrible mistakes. And Sarah pressed, and they survived. They grew. They became wise. But it took them thousands of years. Kenji looked up, his old eyes sharp. The Deep One knows we can't become perfect in 1 year. That's not what it's testing for. Then what? Whether we're trying, whether we want to be better, whether we have hope. Around the world, something remarkable began to happen. In the Middle East, countries that have been enemies for decades signed peace treaties. We don't have time for old grudges, their leader said. We're all humans now. That has to matter more than borders. In South America, corporations stopped cutting down the rainforest. Instead, they started planting trees. Millions of them. In Africa, warlords laid down their weapons. What's the point of fighting for territory if we all die? One former rebel leader said, better to fight for our survival together. In Asia, factories began converting to clean energy. Pollution levels dropped for the first time in decades. It wasn't perfect. There were still crimes, still violence, still hatred. Humans couldn't change their nature overnight, but they were trying. Sarah tracked it all. The data flowing into her computers painted a picture of a species struggling, failing, getting back up, and trying again. Look at this. She showed General Stone 6 months into the trial. Global cooperation is up 40%. Wars have decreased by 60%. Environmental restoration projects have increased by... But crime is still happening. Stone interrupted, pointing at other data. Murders, theft, abuse. The Deep One must see all that too. Yes, Sarah admitted, but maybe that's not the point. Maybe perfection isn't what it's looking for. 8 months into the trial, something unexpected happened. A message arrived from space, not from the Sentinels. From beyond them, from the galaxy. It was Ambassador Seleth, the Lumine who had voted against attacking Earth. His glowing form appeared on every screen. People of Earth, he began gently. We have been watching. The entire galaxy has been watching. And we see what you're doing. We see you trying to change. He paused. Many species are frightened of you. They see the power protecting your world, and they fear what you might become. But some of us see something else. We see a young species facing an impossible test, and we want to help. We cannot enter your space. The Sentinels won't allow it, but we can send resources, food, medicine, technology. We will leave it at the edge of your system. As a gift, as a gesture of faith. The transmission ended. General Stone stared at Sarah in disbelief. They're helping us? After we destroyed their fleet? Not us, Sarah corrected softly. The Sentinels destroyed their fleet. And now they understand we're not the enemy. We're just caught in the middle. With 11 months gone and only 1 month remaining, Kenji gathered Sarah and General Stone in his private study. I've been thinking, the old man said, about what the Deep One really wants to see. What? They both asked. It said it was tired of judging, tired of choosing, tired of being alone. Kenji looked at them intently. What if the test isn't about proving we're good enough? What if it's about proving we're companions, friends, something it doesn't have to fear, but also doesn't have to face eternity alone with? Sarah's eyes widened. You think it's lonely? Millions of years, Kenji said quietly, watching species come and go. protecting a world but never really being part of it. Yes, I think it's unbearably lonely. Then how do we show we're worth knowing? Stone asked. We do what humans do best, Sarah said slowly, realization dawning. We reach out, we connect, we try to understand something different from ourselves. She ran back to her laboratory. For the next month, she worked on something new. Not weapons, not defenses, not even data about humanity's improvements. She worked on a message. On the final day of the trial, Sarah stood on a boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, directly above the Mariana Trench. General Stone and Kenji stood beside her. News cameras from every nation watched. Sarah held a small device. Inside was everything she'd prepared. Not a plea for mercy. Not evidence of humanity's worthiness. A conversation. She activated it, and the device transmitted down into the depths. Hello, Sarah's recorded voice said. We know you're listening. We know you're judging. And we know you're afraid of making the wrong choice. So we want to tell you something. We're afraid too. Every day. We're afraid of failing. Afraid of hurting each other. Afraid of not being good enough. But fear doesn't mean we give up. It means we try harder. You said you're tired of being alone. We understand. Being alone is the worst thing. That's why we reach for each other. That's why we build families, communities, nations. Not because we're perfect, but because together we're less afraid. You protected this world for millions of years. You've carried that burden alone. But maybe you don't have to anymore. Maybe we could help. Maybe we could be partners. Maybe we could be friends. The transmission included something else. Music, art, literature, science, history, all of humanity's achievements and failures, laid bare. And one final message. We're not asking you to believe we're perfect. We're asking you to believe we're worth the chance to grow. Just like you gave those species before us. Just like someone once gave you. Silence. The water was still. The world held its breath. Then from the depths, a sound, not words. Something else. Laughter. Soft, surprised, genuine laughter. The deep one was laughing. Retran. The laughter echoed across the ocean, a sound that seemed impossible. Ancient, mechanical, yet somehow warm. Sarah, Stone, and Kenji stood frozen on the boat, not daring to breathe. Then the water began to glow. Not violently, like when the Sentinels launched. Gently, beautifully, blue light spread across the surface of the Pacific, creating patterns that looked almost like smiles. The voice returned, but different now. Softer, less formal. You made me laugh. In 4 million years, nothing has made me laugh. Around the world, people stopped. They listened. Many started crying without knowing why. I have judged you. I have watched every moment of this year. I have seen your wars and your peace, your cruelty and your kindness, your failures and your determination to try again. Sarah gripped the railing of the boat. This was it, the verdict. I have calculated the probability of your survival, the chances you will destroy yourselves, the likelihood you will harm this world. The numbers are not good. General Stone closed his eyes. By logic, by mathematics, by pure analysis, I should end you, cleanly, mercifully, before you become a threat. Kenji whispered a prayer in Japanese, but that one word sent hope flooding through billions of hearts. But I have learned something. Something I forgot over these long ages of solitude. Something your message reminded me. Logic is not enough. Mathematics cannot measure everything. Analysis cannot predict the unpredictable. And humans, you are very unpredictable. The glow in the water began to take shape. Something was rising from the depths. Not fast, not threatening. Slowly. Deliberately. My creators, the first civilization, they were not perfect either. They fought. They struggled. They nearly destroyed themselves 12 times. But they survived, not because they were logical, but because they were stubborn, because they refused to give up on each other. A shape broke the surface. Massive, elegant, ancient beyond comprehension. It looked like a whale made of crystal and light, covered in symbols that shifted and flowed. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, glowed with intelligence that made human consciousness seem like a candle next to the sun. I see that same stubbornness in you, that same refusal to accept defeat, that same desperate, beautiful foolishness that makes you try to befriend a machine god instead of simply begging for mercy. The Deep One moved closer to the boat. Sarah reached out her hand without thinking, and the creature's surface rippled near her fingers, responding to her touch. You asked if we could be friends. No one has ever asked me that before. Species beg. They plead. They negotiate. But friendship? That requires equals. And you tiny, brief, chaotic creatures, you dare to consider yourselves my equals. Sarah found her voice. No, not equals. Not yet. Maybe never. But companions. Students. Partners. We have so much to learn, and you have so much you could teach us. The Deep One was silent for a long moment. Yes, I could teach you, and perhaps you could teach me as well. Teach me what it means to hope again, to laugh again, to care about something more than just duty. My verdict is this: humanity will live. Cheers erupted around the world. People embraced strangers. Enemies hugged. Cities exploded with joy. But the Deep One continued, and the celebration quieted. There are conditions. Of course there were. Nothing was ever that simple. First, the Sentinels remain. They will protect Earth from outside threats. But they will also watch you. If you become a danger to this world, if you poison beyond repair, if you truly become monsters, they will stop you. General Stone nodded. That was fair. Second, you may not leave the solar system. Not yet. You are too young, too dangerous. You must grow more before you spread to the stars. In 100 years, we will discuss this again. Sarah felt a pang of disappointment, but she understood. Humanity wasn't ready. The attack from the alien fleet proved that. They needed time to mature. Third, you must continue what you started this year. The peace. The cooperation, the healing of your world. If you return to your old ways, if you forget what you learned, I will reconsider my decision. These terms are acceptable, Kenji said formally. On behalf of humanity, we accept. Good. Then let US begin. I have much to teach you. Technology, history, wisdom from civilizations long dead. And you will teach me to be alive again. To care again, to remember why I protect this beautiful world. The Deep One began to sink back into the water, but paused. One more thing. Sarah Chun, Marcus Stone, Kenji Yamamoto, you three will be my ambassadors, my friends, my link to humanity. Come visit me when you wish. Talk to me. Share your lives. I have been alone too long. I would like company. Sarah smiled through her tears. We'd like that too. The months that followed were strange and wonderful. The Sentinels remained in orbit, but they became less frightening and more familiar. Parents pointed them out to children. Those protect us, they'd say. Those keep us safe. True to its word, the Deep One shared knowledge, clean energy, medical cures, agricultural techniques. Not all at once. It didn't want to overwhelm humanity, but slowly, carefully, like a teacher with patient students. In return, humans taught about music, about jokes, about the small joys of existence. Sarah visited weekly, sitting in a submarine and just talking to the ancient intelligence. Sometimes about science, sometimes about nothing important at all. The galaxy watched, uncertain. Some species were relieved Earth was contained. Others were curious. Ambassador Seleth and a few others began regular transmissions, sharing knowledge across the Sentinel barrier. Slowly, carefully, relationships formed. We're not alone anymore, people said. Not just in the universe. We have a guardian, a friend. But not everyone was happy. In dark corners of the world, some humans resented the restrictions, the monitoring, the knowledge that they were prisoners in their own solar system, children being watched by a cosmic parent. We defeated one alien fleet, they whispered. We could defeat the Sentinels too. We could be free. These whispers grew, slowly, quietly, and deep in the Pacific Ocean. The Deep One heard them. It said nothing, did nothing, but it watched, and it wondered if it had made the right choice after all. 1 year after the verdict, Sarah sat with the Deep One in the dark waters. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. "Letting us live?" "Ask me in another 100 years," it replied. "Humanity is a long experiment. Sometimes experiments fail. Sometimes they surprise you. I do not know what you will be yet. That's terrifying. Yes, but it is also hopeful. Uncertainty means possibility. Possibility means the future is not written. And that is something worth protecting." Sarah smiled in the darkness. "Thank you for giving us a chance. Thank you for giving me a reason to hope again. Now go. Live. Love. Create. Struggle. Succeed. Fail. Try again. That is what life is. And for the first time in millions of years, I remember why it matters." Sarah returned to the surface. Above, the Sentinels orbited silently. Around the world, humans continued their chaotic, beautiful, flawed existence. They had been judged and found adequate, not perfect, not worthy, just adequate enough to deserve another chance. And sometimes, Sarah thought as she watched the sunset, adequate is enough. The story of humanity's trial had ended, but the story of humanity's future was just beginning. And no one, not even a 4-million-year-old guardian, knew how it would end. 2 years after the verdict, Earth had transformed. Cities gleamed with new technology gifted by the Deep One. Cancer was cured. Hunger was ending. Clean energy powered every home. The oceans were healing. For the first time in centuries, humanity seemed truly united. But Sarachin couldn't shake a feeling of unease. She sat in her laboratory, now much larger and more advanced, studying patterns in the Sentinel data. Something was wrong. Small anomalies. Tiny disruptions. Nothing obvious, but "You see it too," General Stone said from the doorway. He looked older now, grayer, but still sharp. "See what?" "The problem. It's too perfect, Sarah. Too easy. Humanity doesn't change this fast." She nodded slowly. "The cooperation numbers are good. Too good. It's like everyone suddenly became saints overnight. Except they didn't." Stone pulled up classified reports on her screen. Crime still exists. Hatred still exists. Violence still exists. But it's all being hidden, covered up. Everyone's terrified of Sentinels seeing our failures. "So we're lying," Sarah whispered. "We're pretending to be better than we are." "Exactly. And if the Deep One finds out," they both knew what that meant. The verdict could be reversed. In a secret facility beneath the Gobi Desert, something else was happening. Dr. Viktor Kozlov, a brilliant but bitter scientist, worked by dim light. Around him stood representatives from 12 nations, not their official leaders, but shadow members, people who operated in the darkness. "Project Liberation is ready," Victor announced, pulling a sheet off a large machine. It looked like a weapon, covered in stolen Sentinel technology, reverse-engineered and modified. "This will disable the Sentinels?" asked a Chinese general. "Not all of them, but enough. We create a gap in their coverage, and we can escape. Build colonies on Mars, on Europa, beyond this prison. The Deep One will detect it," warned a woman from the Russian intelligence service. Victor smiled coldly. "Let it. We'll be gone before it can react. And once we're spread across the solar system, it can't kill us all. We'll be too distributed. It will have to negotiate." "This is madness," said a Japanese diplomat nervously. "If this fails, if we do nothing, we remain children forever." Victor slammed his fist on the table. "Monitored, controlled, limited. Is that what humans are meant to be? Or are we meant to be free?" The vote was close, but it passed. Project Liberation would launch in 3 months. Kenji Yamamoto had grown very old. His hands shook as he poured tea for Sarah in his small apartment. "Something approaches," he said quietly. "I feel in my bones. A great change, or a great tragedy. The Whispers, Sarah said. The resistance groups. You know about them? Of course. And so does the Deep One. It hears everything. Then why doesn't it act? Kenji sipped his tea slowly. Because it is afraid. Afraid that if it acts too harshly, it proves it is a tyrant. Afraid that if it acts too gently, humans will destroy themselves. It is paralyzed by the same question that haunted it before. What is the right choice? There isn't always a right choice, Sarah said. No, sometimes there are only difficult ones. The Deep One called Sarah to the ocean depths 3 days later. I need to show you something, it said, its voice heavy with sadness. The water around her submarine filled with images, holographic recordings from millions of years ago. She saw the first civilization, the ones who built the Deep One. They looked almost human, but taller, more elegant, with eyes that glowed faintly. She watched them build the Sentinels, watched them create the Deep One, watched them spread across the galaxy, confident and powerful. And she watched them destroy themselves, not through war, through pride. They believed they were invincible. They took risks. They experimented with forces they didn't fully understand. And one day, they opened a door that should have stayed closed. The images showed creatures pouring through a rift in space, things that shouldn't exist, monsters from another dimension. The first civilization fought bravely, but they lost. In the end, only the Deep One remained, left behind to guard an empty world. That is why I am cautious, it explained. That is why I restrict, not to be cruel, but because I have seen what happens when species reach too far too fast. They do not fall. They burn, and they take everything with them. Sarah stared at the images, horrified. What were those things? The void dwellers, beings from beyond reality. My creators try to harness their power. Instead, they unleashed extinction. The rift was sealed, but barely. It still exists dormant, waiting. And if humanity grows too quickly, explores too recklessly, you might find it. That's why you won't let us leave the solar system. Yes, the galaxy is not safe. It is not empty. There are things out there worse than any alien fleet. Things that would find humanity delicious. Sarah felt cold despite the submarine's heating. The resistance group's planning to escape. They don't know this. No, and if they succeed, if they break free and draw attention to Earth, the void dwellers might wake. They might remember this world. And then nothing I do will save you. You have to tell people. Warn them. I have calculated the outcomes. If I reveal the truth, 73% of humans will not believe me. They will think I am lying to maintain control. The resistance will grow stronger, not weaker. Then what do we do? The Deep One was silent for a long time. I do not know. For the first time in 4 million years. I do not know the answer. Sarah returned to the surface and immediately contacted General Stone and Kenji. They met in a secure room, surrounded by technology that would block any surveillance, even from the Sentinels. We have to stop Project Liberation, Sarah said urgently. But we can't tell anyone why. They won't believe us. Then we sabotage it quietly, Stone suggested. Make it fail without leaving evidence. No, Kenji said firmly. That solves nothing. The resistance will simply try again. And again. We must change their hearts, not just stop their hands. How? Sarah asked desperately. How do you convince people that their prison is actually protection? By giving them something else to focus on, Kenji said slowly, something that fulfills their need for freedom and exploration without leaving the solar system. Stone leaned forward. What are you thinking? The Deep One has knowledge of technologies we haven't even dreamed of. Terraforming. Virtual realities more real than reality itself. Genetic modifications that could let humans survive in any environment. What if we didn't need to leave? What if we could make the solar system feel infinite? Sarah's eyes widened. Mars, Venus, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. We could make them all habitable. Give people new frontiers to explore without the risk of attracting attention. It would take decades, Stone cautioned. Better decades of work than minutes of extinction, Kenji replied. Sarah dove back into the ocean that night. I have been listening, the Deep One said before she could speak. Your plan has merit, but it requires something from me I have never given before. What? Trust. Complete trust. I would have to share knowledge that could be weaponized, technology that could be misused. I would have to believe that humanity will use it wisely. Can you? Sarah asked simply. Can you trust us? The Deep One's glow pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. 2 years ago, I could not. But you have visited me every week. Talked to me, shared your fears and hopes. You have shown me that some humans, at least, are trying to be worthy of trust. But some isn't all, Sarah said quietly. No, and that is the gamble. But I have realized something. Living without risk is not living at all. My creators failed because they took too much risk too quickly. But I have failed by taking no risk at all. Perhaps the answer is balance. So you'll help us? Yes. I will give you the tools to transform your solar system, to build paradise on a dozen worlds. But Sarah, if this goes wrong, if humanity betrays this trust, I know, she whispered, you'll have no choice. I will have no choice. They sat together in the darkness, human and machine, both afraid, both hopeful, both gambling everything on a species that had barely proven itself worthy. Above them, the sentinels orbited, silent guardians. And in the Gobi Desert, Viktor Kozlov checked his countdown timer. Project Liberation, 89 days remaining. The race was on. Would humanity choose the gift being offered, or would they take what they wanted by force? The Deep One didn't know. But for the first time in millions of years, it was willing to find out.